Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
Recognition and acknowledgement of a job well done aren't just niceties, they're necessary for staff motivation and ultimately business success. And it doesn't have to be financial. A simple thank you can go a very long way. But there are more ways to say job well done. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Everyone wants to be fairly compensated for the work they do. That's a given. But often, the biggest reward for your workforce isn't money. HR consultant Karen Gately says a boss's recognition of a job well done can greatly boost morale and help energise employees. She offers some creative ways to reward employees shortly. First, Chris Ashmore asks Karen whether business owners too often forget to recognise or praise the good work of their team.
You know, I can't tell you how often I meet teams who will say that, the boss's focus is on what's going wrong. So there's lots of time and attention on the people who are underperforming and, the challenges. But often people are saying that they just don't feel that they're, receiving the thank you, the pat on the back that they deserve for going the extra mile.
Well, why is it important, do you think, to have the right incentives in place in a business?
Well, look, I think it's all about inspiring and influencing behaviour. So whether we're talking about monetary incentives or if it is just the recognition, acknowledgement component, when human beings feel a deep sense of personal values, they actually matter to the organisation, when they feel trusted, when they feel respected, they're entirely more likely to be energised. They're entirely more likely to feel that sense of belonging with an organisation. And when human beings feel part of the mission, feel like they do belong and are energised, they're entirely more likely to perform it at their best. So, it makes sense for organisations, for leaders to take the time to say the thank yous, to acknowledge people, to build that sense of, as I say, personal value, so people want to keep striving and want to give more.
Well, can some incentive schemes, though, be the wrong ones?
Absolutely. I think, all we have to do is look to the Banking Royal Commission, the Royal Commission into, misconduct in financial services sector to see plenty of example of where when we have certain targets, when we have certain outcomes that we measure as being successful, and we don't have an overlay of behavioural expectation. So, in other words, if we don't have a behavioural hurdle that you need to meet in order to gain access to those incentives, then sometimes people choose to go about things in ways that are unlawful, that lack integrity, that lack compassion, that lack just decent common decency. So, again, we need to think very carefully as leaders, what kind of behaviour are we actually motivating and inspiring through those incentive programs?
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned the Banking Royal Commission, and I suppose a lot of people think of money as a reward. Is that sometimes not the best step forward for motivation for their employees?
Yeah, look, in my experience, there's certainly certain professions where there's a long-held expectation that there's upside through bonuses, etc. So salespeople, for example, are typically looking for that as a component to their package. But there's plenty of research that demonstrates that, it is actually the thank you, it is the acknowledgement, it's more the recognition piece that inspires a change in behaviour. In my experience, remuneration is something that if people feel ripped off, it will demotivate, it will undermine the strength of their spirit and their engagement. If they feel fairly rewarded, so they understand what they are likely to earn in the market and they believe that the employer is doing the right thing by them, then, in my experience, that's a neutral equation. To pay somebody more money doesn't necessarily give you more engagement or more performance, especially when you look at it in the context of an absence of a thank you. You can throw all sorts of money at people, but if they don't think you actually appreciate them, then again, you undermine your own ability to leverage their full potential.
Well, what are some of the smart ways or creative ways to reward and recognise the good work done by employees?
Well, again, it's a simple thank you. There's plenty of opportunities where an employer can actually just choose to walk to someone's desk, for example, and say, hey, notice that this happened, really appreciate it. Clearly, it can be through staff communications, so through your staff newsletters, whether it's in a team meeting. It can also be through recognising people through opportunity to get more training, to be seen as someone who's ready for promotion within the organisation. So, again, if you make behaviour matter when you're rewarding people through promotional steps, then again, it can inspire people to behave in the right ways. So, there's lots of opportunities like giving people, clearly, if we're talking about money, we can give them spot awards, we can have peer-nominated awards that, might just be as simple as movie tickets. But again, it's getting the whole team to look around the office and point to the types of people and behaviours that should be recognised.
Do you have an example of a business doing something creative, something left field perhaps that motivated its employees?
Yeah, look, I work for a listed technology business that have this fabulous way of getting the team excited about innovation. And they have this hackathon where they literally, over a 24-hour period, have these teams going crazy trying to develop the latest and greatest new exciting thing that they can take to market. Now, they're in financial services, so it's not like they're just playing with, video games or things like that. They're coming up with products that can really make a big difference. And look, the reward piece is through the recognition. Those teams get to present their ideas to the board. There's a board panel that judges, their ideas, and then whoever wins the competition actually gets then a budget to start to actually work on making this thing real. So, for that as an example, the participants of that process clearly are being rewarded and recognised by just having the opportunity to present to the board when they, may not otherwise. That obviously then creates opportunity for them to be seen and to be recognised as talented people in that organisation. And let's face it, who doesn't like to win a competition? So it's been very successful for about 3 years.
Any final words of advice for a business owner looking to implement an incentive scheme or recognition program?
Yeah, start by understanding your industry. So what is the likely landscape from your competitors' perspective? What are people likely to provide in terms of the mix of benefits? And, then think about what sort of behaviours, what sort of outcomes do I want to inspire and motivate? And, what are some of the targets that I can set? But also, as I said before, what are some of the behavioural standards that I can set as a hurdle as well to make sure it's not just what people are doing, but how they're going about it that's rewarded and recognised.
That was Sensei at Corporate Dojo, Karen Gately. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.